Hi there, philomaths. Welcome back to another education video. I am going to be comparing Florida State College at Jacksonville, which I attended for my associate's degree, to UNC Chapel Hill, which is a university. I do want to preface by saying I am aware that I am comparing, in a way, apples to oranges, if you will, because Florida State College at Jacksonville is a state college and University of North Carolina is a university. But I thought it would give another opportunity for people who are attending UNC Chapel Hill to see what they think about the campus and the school. And then also, if you are in Florida and you're looking for a state college, you can see what the state college is all about and what it has to offer, maybe, and just get some ideas as to the information surrounding the college when you're picking a college out. I don't know if you really pick a college, like a state college or community college. I think most people probably go to their local community or state college. I did not. I picked mine. So anyway, I can get into that in another video, but in this video, I am going to, like I said, compare the two schools. And I'm going to preface by mentioning um, a few little key points. So, like I said, Florida State College of Jacksonville is a state college. University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is a university. So, what this means is a state college is going to go up to a bachelor's degree. And I don't think they go any higher than that unless that changes in the future. But as of right now, I think it only goes up to bachelor's degrees. And so, with that being said, UNC Chapel Hill is a university. So they go up to doctorate degrees. They go all the way up. And I do think you have more options at universities. So, for example, I majored in cultural anthropology. If you major in history or English or something a little more common like that, communication, I still don't think a state college would have that as a degree option. I think you do have to go still to a university. I think it depends probably on the college, but I would think most state colleges don't offer social science degrees. If you know of one, please leave it in the comments, but I don't know of any off the top of my head at the moment. So, yeah, there's that. And then location, Florida State College at Jacksonville is located in Jacksonville, Florida. And then UNC Chapel Hill is, if you know, you know, it's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And then one other little key point I thought to mention, if it was important to you, is the acceptance rate. So the acceptance rate for Florida State College at Jacksonville is 100%. I'm assuming this is because they want people to achieve their academic goals. And so as long as you have a 2.0 GPA from high school and some paperwork and placement tests, you should be able to get in. If you have less than a 2.0 GPA, I don't know how to go about navigating that. I could try to do some research on that if anyone is interested. But yeah, I don't know about that. I would think they would probably let you in anyway, especially if you do really well on the placement tests and maybe some other things. But that is for State College at Jacksonville. The acceptance rate for University of North Carolina is, I read 15 to 20%, and this is, I'm pretty sure, on their website. The 15% was regular acceptance rate, and then the 20% was an early acceptance rate. They were counted as separate for some reason. So, not sure why this is, but still significantly lower, as you can tell. That was all of the preface key points that I could think to mention. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below and I will answer them as I see them. Okay, so now on to the categories, the fun part. Okay, so for each category, I'm going to give the category name, and then I'm going to share an example or key point or something about each category, so like a sub point, and then I'm going to give a star rating. So the first category is weather. Florida State College at Jacksonville is in Jacksonville, Florida. So, as you can imagine, it is significantly going to be warmer for longer. At the time, I loved hot weather, and summer, I think, was my favorite season at the time. But that is not the case anymore. I feel like summers are getting hotter with 90 plus degrees high, which is crazy. That's a little too hot for me. But at the time, I really loved summer and I loved hot weather. And so I wanted to go to a school in Florida, and I thought Florida was, I guess, generally speaking, a good culture. So before I actually share the star rating that I gave it, I'm going to go into UNC Chapel Hill. So at UNC Chapel Hill, it is in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So it is going to be colder for a little bit longer of a duration for the winter season. I will say that some years are probably going to be different. I remember feeling hot in November. And for some reason, most of the time, even if it was cooler, I had to walk so much on that campus because it's so big. I sweat a little bit walking to class, which was a little annoying. I was thinking, how is this even possible in North Carolina? I did not expect this, but yeah, I did break a sweat on my way to most classes. So, with that being said, I am going to give Jacksonville, Florida a 3 out of 5 stars because hot weather is great, but 90 plus degrees is not my favorite. And then Chapel Hill was a little bit cooler, which is my preference. So, I gave it 1 more star, 4 out of 5 stars. So, UNC Chapel Hill has 1 for them. Okay, so next category is financial aid. So at Florida State College at Jacksonville, they were easy to talk to. They had an open communication line. If I called the number, they answered. I could talk with someone who was in financial aid and worked in financial aid. I actually met one particular person at one of the locations, and she was pretty nice, and I was able to contact her through email. She responded, and it was a really good relationship because I could get information. I could contact her. She knew me. She saw me. Florida State College is kind of big still, even though it's a state college. So that was a really good thing to have. And so that was a really good experience. I did eventually not have her because I think she transferred to another position, or she moved up in the company. I don't really remember. This has been a little while, but yeah, it was a great experience, I would say. So, with that being said, UNC, they are easy to talk to, but communication can lack sometimes. You could email. It is possible for you to email them and get no response back. Why this is, I don't know. And then the other thing with UNC is I feel like a lot of the time when you call, you get a student aid, which is great. They need the experience, but sometimes I do have questions, or I think most of the time I had a question that they really couldn't answer, and they had to put me on hold and go ask someone. So that was a little bit annoying because I just wanted to go ahead and talk with them, get the information, and then, move on with my assignments or whatever it was I had to do. So that was a little annoying. If you do have to go on campus and ask them in person, that would not be a shocker to me. You can get them on the phone most of the time. I think maybe in the summer times, the off times, you are more likely to talk with someone who is not a student, I think. But during the school year, more than likely, I think you're going to end up talking with a student aide. So, something to think about. If you don't mind, then you don't mind. Um, I initially didn't think anything of it. However, when you are taking even 4 classes or even 3 classes, probably at UNC, time is of the essence. And I did not want to sit around waiting on someone to pick up the phone, someone to answer my email. I really needed a response quickly. So that was a little bit frustrating. Okay, so with all of that said, I gave Florida State College of Jacksonville 5 out of 5 stars for that because it was a great experience. And then I gave UNC Chapel Hill a 4 out of 5 stars. So pretty close, but I would say Florida State College at Jacksonville was better. Okay, next category, the advising department. So at Florida State College of Jacksonville, it was super easy to talk to someone, and they were very personable. You could see someone pretty quickly and pretty easily, even if you were just a walk-in. I did have an advisor that I met with. I don't know if I met with her on a regular basis, but she was so nice. She talked to me for, I think, around 30 minutes, maybe longer. Everything was pretty well explained. She maybe added some information that I did not know to ask. There was really, I would say, a little need for an advisor at the state college. But if they were needed, they were there and you could access them pretty easily and quickly. And it was just a great experience. I've called them, I walked in and saw them in person. It was, both were great. Okay, so then for UNC Chapel Hill, they were, and this is unfortunate because this is my favorite department. They were really difficult to reach and communicate with. So I think I actually explained this in one of my videos. I don't remember which one. I will have to go back and look. And if I find it, I will link it below. I had, I think, shared in that video one of my experiences. So anyway, at one point, I reached out to several advisors. Maybe one emailed me in response. Otherwise, most of them, if not all of them, did not respond. I had an advisor just say that they had a meeting and he would call me back, and then he never followed through. I never did receive a phone call, even though we set up a time and day in advance. An advisor suggested I take a class based on certain criteria, but to make a long story short, but I had actually already taken that class. So generally speaking, not the most personable, unfortunately, difficult to touch base with. I was always referred to drop-in hours via virtual Zoom meetings, and that was really annoying. I didn't want to do that. I did that one time and it didn't work. I was in limbo. I went off the list, but I was still there. It was really weird. I'm not sure what happened with that, but anyway, I ended up having to walk in if I needed something because no one would respond otherwise. So I did end up finding one that was helpful, but it took a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and I did not have that at all at Florida State College of Jacksonville. It was such a smooth, easy experience. And so for those reasons, I gave Florida State College of Jacksonville a 5 out of 5 stars, and I gave UNC a 1 out of 5 stars. Okay, forgot to mention the numbers, but this is category 5, parking. So Florida State College of Jacksonville, I would say it was easy. You pull up, you park. You may have to have a sticker if you are a student and you're parking there regularly. And I think that has a bit of a cost. It was maybe $5 to $10. I don't know how much it is now, but it really wasn't that bad. You could always find parking no matter which campus. They have multiple campuses, no matter which one you went to. So that was really, really easy. And I never knew, I never knew and appreciated how wonderful having parking was or is until I went to UNC. It is almost non-existent. It is also expensive. The parking lot or spaces that you see around campus, you have to win a lottery for them. And when I say lottery, I don't mean you win them for free. You actually do have to pay upwards of around $400 for the entire school year. And that was a bit annoying. And then, since that was not an option, if you did not win or you just didn't participate, like I didn't participate, then you had to pay for parking, $150 or $175 per hour. And classes can last 50 minutes, but then you have to walk there and walk back. So you will end up paying for 2 hours, even if you are not there for 2 hours. I think once you pass the 1 hour mark, it adds $150 or $175. So if it takes you, 20 minutes to commute or even 10 minutes, you're going to barely probably pay $150 or $175 more because you were not under that 1 hour mark. So you're really, I would say, going to pay for a 50-minute class, or for every 50-minute class, you're going to pay a minimum of, I would say, $3. So that was annoying. And I think I also mentioned the parking issue in the pros and cons video, so I will leave that linked below. I do have a rapid fire version of that where I just spew out key pros and cons points. But I do recommend watching the full length version because I do go into more depth and more context, which I think is really important. So if you do watch the rapid fire, please watch the extended full length version because I go into a little more detail about each of the pros and cons that might be helpful. Okay, so for parking, if it wasn't obvious already, I gave Florida State College at Jacksonville 5 out of 5 stars, and then I gave UNC Chapel Hill 1 out of 5 stars. So the next category is campus life. And for Florida State College at Jacksonville, it was a smaller campus, but, well, I'm not real sure how to say this. The campuses themselves were smaller, but there were multiples of them. They were spread out. So like you have Deerwood Center campus, you have South Campus, you have a North Campus, you have a downtown campus, but UNC Chapel Hill is all there in one. And it is quite big. So you do have to walk quite a ways to find your class. I think I mentioned that also in the pros and cons video, so do please check that out. I will leave it linked in the description box. I would say the campus at Florida State College at Jacksonville is not as expensive. And then for UNC, it was, like I said, one big giant campus, but you have lots to do. But I don't know. It's, I guess it depends on what you want. So for UNC, I will say they have lots of study areas. Something else I did not know, I actually toured the campus in 2017, but when I went back as a student, um, I guess some things had changed, and I actually saw some homeless people along Franklin Street, and I had no idea that they were there. I don't think they were there in 2017. But yeah, if that's something that bothers you, I would think about it. The distance between the buildings is good or bad, depending. And then another positive I would say is they have squirrels and they have chipmunks. They were so cute. I think I posted a couple of videos of the squirrels. I tried to get the chipmunk, but they were pretty fast. So it was hard to get them on video. But yeah, I think I posted that on Instagram when I was attending. And then, like I said, parking is expensive. So, I would say, oh, and also for UNC, I feel like people were not quite as friendly. I mean, I wasn't entirely expecting people to walk by you and say, "Hi, how are you?" But the vibe, you know how when you walk somewhere and you get a vibe, like they're just kind of, I don't know, not there, not friendly, just not a friendly spirit. Some were great, but I don't know, maybe it's just so many people. It is way bigger than Florida State College at Jacksonville, and Florida State College at Jacksonville is a pretty big. There's a pretty big student population there. I think there's over 20,000 people. So, yeah, I just got a better feel and vibe from Florida State College. And then the experiences within each classroom, that's going to be a long story. But based on all of that, I gave Florida State College of Jacksonville a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I gave UNC Chapel Hill a 3 out of 5 stars. And then to close out that category, I do want to mention that, or do want to say that nice people make it worth your while. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so number 7, crime. Florida State College of Jacksonville, it seemed minimal, maybe even non-existent. No one really mentioned it. If you're downtown or maybe somewhere, I think north, that might have been a little bit of a challenge because of the area, but I would say overall, not that bad. They did have I think a campus police car somewhere on each campus, I think. Didn't pay too much attention to that, but I think I remember seeing one at the campuses I did go to. So there was that. And then for UNC, I would say, now to be completely honest with you, it seemed like Alert Carolinas, which is what they send you on text and in email. It seemed like they came in at least once per semester. Someone stealing something. I think that was actually listed as a common crime there in the orientation that I attended for UNC Chapel Hill. So that is something to consider. Theft, assault, harassment, all of those were mentioned in the Alert Carolinas. And then, of course, there were, I don't know how often this is going to happen, but there were 2 lockdowns on campus when I attended. So, with all of that, even just not mentioning the lockdowns, you still have theft, assault, harassment. I can't really think of anything. There might have been something that happened on a campus somewhere in Jacksonville, but I don't know of any. So Based on the knowledge I have, for those reasons, I have to give Florida State College at Jacksonville a 5 out of 5 stars, and a UNC Chapel Hill a 1 out of 5 star on that. Okay, so the next category is commuting. So this kind of aligns with the parking. Florida State College at Jacksonville, you are pretty much car dependent. You do need a car, I would think, to get there. The only way this may be avoidable is if you can find somewhere close to live, like really close, or if you live downtown, maybe that would probably be more walk friendly. But otherwise, you will have to have some sort of transportation. You are not going to most likely live right on campus unless you're downtown, maybe. Because they don't really offer that to state college. So I don't think state colleges offer dorm rooms and things of that nature. There might be some that do. I don't know, but I don't think Florida State College is one unless something changed. And then UNC Chapel Hill. It is very walk, bike, scooter friendly. I have seen people on bikes, electric bikes, scooters, skateboards even. I even thought about wearing skates to get to my classes so I wouldn't sweat, but I just never did buy a pair of skates. And of course, people walk. Sometimes you run, to be perfectly honest. So there are options. I did have to commute via car because I did not live right on campus. But if you do live right on campus, then you don't really need a car, I would say. Even to get to the grocery stores. However, I probably would not walk there at night or if it's dark outside. For that reason, I am giving Florida State College at Jacksonville a 1 out of 5 stars on that one. And UNC Chapel Hill a 5 out of 5 star. Okay, next category, course options. So for Florida State College of Jacksonville, I would say it's more minimal because it is a state college and they, I think, are more limited in what they can offer. And yeah, it's not a university, but you do have in-person, hybrid, and completely online course options. So I do think that's a big positive if you need something that maybe aligns with your work schedule or something that maybe aligns with your lifestyle. You know, maybe you're a parent and you just don't want to have to go to in-person classes all the time. Then that is a good option for you because they do offer 3 different versions. And I think that's a great thing. In my opinion. First, UNC Chapel Hill, if you are an only in-person type of person and you prefer classes in person. I have met a couple of people who attended online and they just said, I'm going to have to retake the class because I just don't like online. It doesn't work for me. So if you are one of those people, I would say UNC Chapel Hill because it is, they are very heavily in-person oriented. So that would be right up your alley. Also, they have more unique courses, especially tailored to your degree because they are offering your degree, Florida State College of Jacksonville. And like I said, if you're not in social science or if you are in social sciences, then they will only go up so high. So they do offer a wider range of topics to explore, subjects, courses. However, with UNC, I will say that it is limited when you are signing up due to high volume of students and a smaller faculty ratio. I have signed up sometimes for classes and they have been canceled. I have wanted to sign up for classes that I saw listed on the website and they did not offer them because maybe they didn't have a professor at that time, or I don't know what the situation was, but they did not offer it. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, like a minute ago, but 99% of undergrad courses, I would say, are in person, especially undergrad courses. Master's and doctorate degrees, you might find some online. If you want to do something like data science or something along those lines, that is mostly online, if not all online. But if you want to major in a social science like psychology, history, something like that, that is most likely going to be mostly in person, if not all in person. You might find an elective like a science course. It seemed like STEM courses are more online. Social sciences, they're more in person. So I personally did not like that. I like to have the options and flexibility if I need it, because, life happens. And, if I need to switch to a hybrid, I can switch to a hybrid, no problem. And I'm not held with certain expectations based on rules, standards, policies, et cetera, et cetera. It was a whole thing during the lockdowns. I won't get into it in this video, but it was a situation. And so, yeah. And then UNC, they offer, when it is online, they do offer live Zoom courses. So you do have to attend a class, but it's on Zoom. So you don't actually have to go anywhere to attend. You can just, throw on a shirt and fix your hair and just pop on Zoom wherever you need to be, library, home, wherever. So that was better. It's not, like Florida State College of Jacksonville where you're fully online and you're not meeting anyone unless you're wanting to meet someone for office hours. So something to consider. I will say that the asynchronous at UNC, they do help you with your commute time. But online only, like I said, that Florida State College of Jacksonville, sorry, that was pretty much non-existent, I would say. So this rating is more based on my preference, but I would give Florida State College of Jacksonville a 5 out of 5 stars. UNC Chapel Hill, I would give it 2 out of 5 stars. And if you're an in-person, then you might give UNC Chapel Hill 5 out of 5 stars. I will say that even if you are an in-person, I think it would be good at a university or state college to offer options because, life happens. So it's just good to have options and not something just a one-way set in stone kind of thing. So yeah, Florida State College Jacksonville, 5 out of 5. And then UNC Chapel Hill, I gave it 2 out of 5. I only have 3 more, so bear with me. Okay, so number 10 is professors. At Florida State College at Jacksonville, I had a couple of bad apples, I would say, but all others were super great. A couple of them, one in particular I can think was not the most personable, but I could deal with that. That was fine, as long as the professor is not trying to make my life completely miserable in any way possible. I am perfectly flexible. I just, very laid back, don't really care, as long as you're being fair in the grading and you're helping me when I need it. So yeah, a couple of them, they had very strong opinions and we differed. And I actually had one professor to give me a 50 something on an assignment. And I said, why did I get a 50, whatever it was on the assignment? What? And she responded back and said, oh, I didn't look at the other half of the rubric. And I thought, well, that seems very, that seemed like a weak argument to me. You're a professor and you forgot, quote, to look at the system you set up. That was weird. But 99% of the time, they were great. They responded. They were helpful. One professor was a little bit upset that I did not include the student or either my student number or the course number, so that way he could keep track. But when I responded back to him in a sort of a firm, way, as much as possible as I could manage on email, he did respond back and he actually apologized. So that was quite impressive, I have to say. And he did ask my opinion on how to make the class more, more accessible or something for one of the projects we had to do. So I really appreciated that he wanted my opinion. And so it was a really good experience. And then for UNC Chapel Hill, I had, I would say, a few good apples, which means the rest did not make a significant impact on me, or, they made my life kind of miserable, some of them, to be honest. I remember one professor in particular, he came into the room and he actually gave out some gifts that he had from, I guess, one of his projects in another country, and they were made in that country. And I was so excited and so grateful. And he seemed like such a giving professor, and I really enjoyed him. I talked with him after another class he taught, and I made him laugh, so I will always remember that. So I had a good experience in some ways, and then others, not so much. I don't know if I want to get into the negative because this video is probably going to be really long as it is, and I don't really want to harp on the negative. And yeah, I just kind of want it to be a comparison. So yeah, but basically, I just feel like I had more negative professor experiences at UNC, and I probably had more professors at UNC, so that's something else to keep in mind. But I mean, even still, if I had more professors and had more professors that I did not care for, that's not a good sign. So for me, based on my experiences, I would give Florida State College of Jacksonville a 4 out of 5 stars, and then I would give UNC Chapel Hill a 2 out of 5 stars. Okay. Number 11, coursework and curriculum. So for Florida State College at Jacksonville, I felt like it was manageable, and it was simply laid out on the syllabus. Sometimes they had it blocked. Some of the professors did not care for that as much. Some of them left it wide open. So if you could, go through it in a month, you could finish your classes in a month. So I really liked that flexibility. Assignments were weekly. It was laid out pretty straightforward. Syllabus was not usually updated. Multiple course format options were available. So it was, like I said, pretty straightforward, easy, smooth. I really can't think of an issue. And then also, another point I need to make is for Florida State College, they did have, when you were signing up for courses, which ending you would have for your course. So it would either list, I think, proctored exam, something like that, or paper. And you could actually see what your final project was going to be. And I loved that. So that way I could prepare my mind. Okay, this is going to be an exam class. I need to pass the final exam to pass the class. I loved that. I really did like that. UNC Chapel Hill did not have that. Also, the syllabus was always way oversaturated with readings and assignments, in my opinion. I felt like they did not give enough room if, a snow day happened, or if they got sick, they ended up moving the assignments, rearranging things, extending it out, which is great because you are like, woo, this is exciting. But I'd rather just have that all planned out in advance, and that's what I had with Florida State College at Jacksonville. I was told by a few people at UNC that they really did not expect you to read all of the readings, like every single word. Um, so that was kind of odd, because why would you even put it on the syllabus if you know with certainty like that we can't read it in its entirety? I guess they were trying to help you read quickly and try to figure out what is the most important, but I'm I don't know, maybe I'm just a little OCD. I would like to preferably read as much as I can, every word if possible. So that was a little bit frustrating for me. Probably some more I could say on that, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. So, based on that, I will give Florida State College at Jacksonville a 5 out of 5 stars. And then UNC Chapel Hill was a 2 out of 5 stars due to the confusion and um, I would say maybe, I don't know if I want to say hypocrisy, because I actually did have one professor to say, "Did you read the readings?" And I'm thinking, but I've been told all this time that you don't expect me to read every single thing. I did read them, I just didn't read every single word because I didn't have time. So I thought that was kind of odd. But yes, 5 out of 5 for FSCJ and 2 out of 5 for UNC Chapel Hill, to recap. Okay, final category. We are almost there. Health. So, with Florida State College Jacksonville, I felt like it was very manageable and realistic. I did at one point have part-time jobs, and I was taking classes. I was taking probably 2 or 3 classes, not 4, which I do kind of wish I did take 4. Long story. Anyway, but I was working part-time, going to school part-time, and trying to juggle that way. And then also I was working out pretty regularly, and I felt like I was maintaining my health, which was very important. Um, like I said, they have online options, hybrid, in person, and it just fits everyone's needs. So if you can create your own schedule. If you need a little bit of structure, a hybrid would be probably good. That way you don't have to go in person too many times. And I was just able to focus on health a lot going to Florida State College at Jacksonville. With UNC Chapel Hill, it is a little more difficult. You have to go in person mostly for most courses. What was the other thing? There was something else I just thought of. It just seemed like I was very overwhelmed with all of the work that I had to do. Plus, I had to commute. Plus, I had to walk. I had to commute by car, and then I had to commute by foot. And so I did spend a lot of time commuting when I could have been studying or working out. So I was doing pretty good for, I would say, the first 3 semesters. But then after that, it seemed like it got more difficult. And then I did end up having to get a part-time job to supplement me. And then I had to increase my hours as much as I could. So I was trying to work around 20 hours, and where I could work 30 or more, I did. But it was a lot to juggle because I was having to take 4 courses or 5, usually 4, but it's a couple of times. Anyway, so essentially, my point is that Florida State College at Jacksonville was more manageable. UNC Chapel Hill, it eventually became a little much for me, and it was overwhelming. So based on this, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars for Florida State College at Jacksonville, and then UNC Chapel Hill, I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I think if you have better time management, or you can, I don't know, read quicker, or I don't know, then it might be reversed for you. But for me, 5 out of 5 for Florida State College at Jacksonville, and 3 out of 5 for UNC Chapel Hill. And so those are the categories. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are looking at UNC Chapel Hill, I hope this gave you more insight into your decision. If you're trying to decide between UNC Chapel Hill and another one, if you are wanting to attend Florida State College of Jacksonville, I hope this gave you some key points to think about, or, some things to look at or consider to help you make a decision if you are trying to make a decision. And so let me know which category you liked or which one gave you the most insight on the schools. And I will see you in the next video.